What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking the Payback 2020 edition of WWE The Day Of. Now, I know this episode went up like a week and a half ago. I'm way late on this, but I'm just catching up now. It's only about 13, 14 minutes long. It's not too long, but it's a very good episode focusing on Big E's journey throughout the day of Payback 2020 during his match with Sheamus that same show. So the first thing that we start off with Big E is where he talks about how he knows it's going to be a big win for him if he can emerge victorious on the show and beating a former world champion. Now, he's beaten Sheamus before on SmackDown. He's beaten The Miz. He's beaten John Morrison. But he has never beaten any of those people on pay-per-view before in singles competition. So he knows that if he can beat Sheamus on this show at Payback 2020, it can take him to that next step in solidifying him as a successful single star. He even says it's so vitally important to be himself, and talks about how he didn't want to be a carbon copy of someone else and how, he's done that whole thing. They recapped the Talking Smack promo where he talked about how, he did that whole thing where he was the angry man, he was the angry guy, whatever, the angry big monster, and it didn't really get him anywhere until he started showing off his charisma a bit more with the New Day. And he even says that he wants to be the best version of himself. He loves doing the tag team stuff with the New Day, and how it really allowed him to be more free and as both a person and a performer. But he doesn't want to waste this opportunity to be a single star, go after singles gold, and try to make something of his own, make something of himself on his own. He runs down all the accomplishments that the New Day had together, that they've had together actually, because the New Day is not over yet, and how they've been able to interact with people like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, The Rock on an episode of Raw in early 2016, among many other people. He just hopes this single run, he just says, I hope this singles run doesn't suck. And again, they recapped the promo from Talking Smack with The Miz from about a month and a half ago that was really, really good, where he cut this, not Austin 316 promo, but he cut this really realistic promo talking about how he's going to be nothing but himself going forward, and how Miz was like, oh, you got to be serious, blah, blah, blah. And Big E was spot on with what he said, because he mentioned how he's not going to be serious out of nowhere, and we're finally starting to see that, which is cool. What he said was, I'll be serious when it's necessary. And we're kind of seeing that now in his current feud with Sheamus. Now, not at that point, back at Payback 2020, but we're getting it now going into that Falls Count Anywhere match next week on SmackDown, where it's going to be him and Sheamus in the Falls Count Anywhere match, and he's beating the shit out of Sheamus on a car and vice versa. So we're finally starting to see that serious side of Big E that we didn't see a month ago. But he's doing it because it's necessary, not because it's forced, if that makes sense. But he does say, I am defiantly me. And he wants to bring something else to the table that no one else can, in that he knows that there's people that are stronger than him, bigger than him, more charismatic, better in the ring, better in the mic, blah, blah, blah. But he wants to be a hybrid of all of those things and be someone that no other performer can measure up to. Be this charismatic and this good of a talker and this good of a wrestler and this strong, this whatever. That's what he really wants, to be a hybrid of everything, which is really, really cool. And he wants to build a resume that says, hey, look at what I just did. I beat The Miz. I beat John Morrison. I beat Sheamus on pay-per-view. He talks about his gear going into the match with Sheamus on the show and how it's an ode to Nickelodeon, which I thought was cool. I didn't notice that when I saw the show, a month ago, but I thought that was really cool. He did say that I think this was supposed to be his WrestleMania gear for this year, until, obviously, WrestleMania didn't really go on as planned. He wasn't in the WrestleMania match, so he never used it. It was Kofi, Morrison, and I think Jimmy Uso instead in the triple threat ladder match for the tag team titles, which made no sense, but that was because Miz was sick or whatever. So he ended up using that gear here for this show, which was really cool. And he, has a shout out to the former colleges that he went to, which I thought was awesome. But he talks about how he used to worry a lot about both his past and his future, and now he's just living in the moment. So they recap him beating Sheamus, and what I thought was a pretty good match. We see him doing a post-match interview with Sarah Schreiber, who he has good chemistry with as far as that stuff goes. And he discusses how he's drawn inspiration from sermons. And this is not just a recent thing. This has been a thing. He's been doing the sermon-esque promos for a long time, dating back to the beginning of the New Day. Like when they had the whole choir shit that they were doing. The Big E promos and the way that he would talk was kind of goofy early on, but the more he started doing it and kind of got a feel for it, the more he mastered the craft, and the more he mastered that art. And those sermon promos that he cuts now, when they're necessary and in the right environment, I think are great. So he says that he still sometimes feels like that 23-year-old who just showed up at FCW on the inside. He still feels new, he still feels shy, he still feels, inexperienced, whatever. But he also feels like, in a good way, he needs to still prove himself in a way that's motivating. He has yet to show his best stuff, and we're about to see that in the singles run, he says. And he just wants to be worthy of people's support. That is what the last thing that he says to close this episode out, which I thought was really good. Again, it's on the shorter side. It's only about 15, 16 minutes, I think, if not a little less. But we get to see an all-new side of Big E that you may not have been able to see up to this point. Leading into Payback, leading into the Clash of Champions pay-per-view recently, going into the Falls Count Anywhere match with Sheamus next week on the show. On SmackDown, that is. So definitely check it out right now, the Payback 2020 edition of WWE The Day Of. There is plenty of network content that went up in the last week and a half, including just today, actually, the McIntyre 24, Talking Smack yesterday. I have yet to watch the Jey Uso Chronicle, the Broken Skull Sessions, Alexa Bliss, the Uncool podcast thing. So there's a lot to get to. All of that will be recapped in due time here on the channel, so just stick with me. But yeah, thanks for watching. As always, check out all my other WWE The Day Of reviews right here on the channel in the description box down below in the playlist entitled WWE The Day Of Reviews. Also, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit that little bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. My Talking Smack review should also be up here on the channel a little later on today if you want to check that out as well. So take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.